Hello, everybody, and welcome to Completely Arbortrary, the podcast where we talk about trees and other related topics.
I love trees, Alex.
I know, Casey. My name's Alex Crowson.
I am Casey Clapp.
Yeah.
All right, I have to admit, as you were doing that, I was reading this screen because I wanted to get this one last fact in. I'm sorry, Alex.
Hey, more value for money for this free podcast.
That's exactly what it is. Thanks, everybody.
Cram jam full of facts for all of our tree-loving people.
I still haven't found the fact that I'm looking for.
Oh, do you want to take a second?
No, I found it. Okay, I'm reading through this. Here you go. You ready? This is going to give away the tree we're talking about, at least the genus. It's Juglans, from Latin Jovi-glans, from Jovis of juniper and glans, acorn or nut.
Well, that sounds like a whole bunch of nonsense.
It is. It's Latin.
Casey, how you doing? You've had a hell of a week, huh?
I have. I just got done moving.
Yeah.
Like today. I'm not even we just got internet put into our house, so I just logged on for the first time in 4 days. I don't even know where I am anymore.
You booted up your AOL. Mm-hmm. That's very cool.
Yeah, I had all the same things. My roommate wanted to make a call, so I had to get off, and she, so she had to then pick up the phone, make a call. Then I got back on the internet.
Hey, congrats on being moved.
Thank you.
That's not a fun thing to do, especially on some of the rainiest days we've had all year in Portland.
I know. It was Sunday, and Saturday. I was scrolling through. It's like, when's the rain gonna stop? And it went between 90% likelihood to 100% likelihood, and varied within that the entire day.
Yeah, it's rough. Living in Portland is great until it starts raining, and then it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, but the hidden secret is I shouldn't say this on a public thing.
Ooh, I'm curious.
There's a difference in the rain in Oregon versus rain in other parts of the world.
Okay.
Here's my theory, and this is, I have to give credit to my good friend Max because we came up with this idea together. We're pretty sure. The idea is between wet rain and dry rain.
Okay.
All right. Have I ever told you this before?
No, but I am intrigued.
This is gonna break it out to the world, and what I'm hoping is that there's gonna be a bunch of people from the Pacific Northwest who are gonna be like, yes. Oh, so finally someone put a word to it.
Okay, interesting.
So you walk out into a normal everyday rain in the winter of Portland.
Okay.
And you can just walk out in a sweatshirt. You put on a jacket, a parka, and you just go do what you're going to do, and then you come back and you're going, I'm not really that wet. You're mostly dry.
Okay.
Whereas if you do that in like North Carolina or New York, anywhere, it's just like a driving rain that just comes down in buckets.
Well, okay.
Well, we're here. It's like a heavy mist. And that's a dry rain. You walk out, you just don't get that wet, but it's raining. Versus a big, heavy, big fat drops that come down, and you hit one drop on your shoe, and now your sock is completely saturated.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I feel like that. I don't mean to listen. I don't
Break it to me. Just give it to me straight.
I don't mean to break down your theory, but that just sounds like a difference in like the volume of rain.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're saying Portland doesn't have wet rain at
Yes.
all?
No.
Ever?
Oh no. We have our bouts. That's for sure.
Okay, but mostly dry rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I would agree with that, where the rain is mostly manageable.
Yes, that's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
anyway, you can scoot out to the store and back and be like, "Ooh, a light misting."
Yeah. You shake off like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, to be clear, that was not this weekend's rain. This weekend's rain was between driving and saturating, and somewhat not that the entire weekend. I had to get new shoes.
Because of the rain?
Yeah. Okay. I just dried them off and I acted like they were new shoes.
Oh, I see.
I don't think that counts.
It's like when you clean your house or apartment and you rearrange and you're like, oh my God, I got a new place here.
Brand new place. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I think it's perfect. What about you? How's your week?
It's good. I don't have much to say about it. It's been really good. I'm doing well.
You look well. Your color, it's bright. You're glowing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't want to brag here, but you're the second person to tell me that in the
What?
last couple weeks.
You see?
Yeah.
Honestly,
there must be something to it.
It's the solstice.
My color is paper white, for those wondering.
We're going to put a picture of you on the internet.
I would
it's
describe
literally
it as
going to be this wall.
It's cardstock.
Cardstock. Is that what you check when they're like, what's your ethnicity on a thing? You just choose cardstock.
Yeah. It's not that far off.
All right, what are we talking about today?
Well, you tell me, tree expert.
All right.
All right, we have a new tree this week. As we do every week, and this one I gotta say, I'm pretty excited for it. I think I've said that about every tree we've talked about.
I think I do too. In fact, I think we say like the second episode that the problem with our podcast is that as we talk about all these trees, they become like our favorite trees.
Yes,
That's what I don't know.
it's happening.
You
Not
know-
with the arborvitae.
Oh no, I just I'm glad that we're not hearing how people are reacting to that.
Yeah,
We're gonna wait.
we're leaving it behind. We're
Yeah.
moving on, and this week we are talking about
The black walnut,
cool.
Juglans nigra.
Now, can you put a spin on that pronunciation?
Ooh, how?
Just because Juglans sounds so.
No, it's very phonetic.
Is it really?
Juglans. Maybe it's like you can do the G as in like ja.
Juglans.
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 It's a French tree.
Yeah, Juglans. Yeah, you can go French.
The black
Yeah.
walnut. Cool.
The black walnut. We're gonna I'll think about this.
And
We'll come up with ideas.
I do want to say this is our first tree that produces something that you can eat.
The normal people would eat. Yeah,
I guess you could eat a Douglas
Yeah,
fir cone.
I shouldn't say normal people. A lot of people eat acorns. That's pretty normal, actually.
Okay.
At least they used to. It's just too much effort nowadays.
Sure.
But it is traditional.
But I mean, the walnut. Maybe we get ahead of myself, but the walnut's also a fair amount of work to get to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it's good, but it's a lot bigger, and you can eat it immediately rather
That's
than like
true.
leaching out the tannins. And
Yes, you don't have to process it at all.
Yeah.
You can just eat it right out of the husk. Well,
Exactly.
let's talk about the physical appearance of this tree.
All right.
I'm out in. I almost said, when you start a sentence and you like project in your brain where it's going, so you have a roadmap of what to say.
Yeah.
I almost said, so Casey, I'm in the ocean.
And a walnut floats by.
I'm mixing up my biomes.
That's the second season is going to be all about trees in the ocean.
Interesting.
It's going to be just about two trees.
All
That's
right,
it for season 2, everyone. We'll see you next year.
So I'm in the forest and I come across a black walnut. What am I seeing? What am I smelling?
Yeah.
Tell me all about it.
That's actually a really good question. What are you smelling? So, the black walnut is one of the most iconic American trees. It grows in kind of the central and southeastern United States, but it can grow natively. There's one or two groves that they're not sure if it's native or like really old plantings in like Ottawa or something like that.
Do they grow here in Oregon?
No, well, they grow here like crazy, but they are not native here.
I see.
Yeah.
They've been replanted.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so you're walking out, and you're going to know that it's a black walnut because it's probably going to be huge, and it's probably going to be a very straight stem if it's like in the forest, because they all grow very straight in a forested area.
Okay.
If you're walking in a like an open field, there's one or two that are planted in parks around here or on the street. And they just have these huge, capacious canopies. That's the word of the podcast, capacious.
You've used this word before.
Yeah.
And I got to ask, what is it?
It means a very widespread canopy.
Okay.
My one of my coworkers brought that up, and he is trying to describe trees like it. I think it might have been a word of the day that he tried to do, and it was capacious. And so he used it that day. He's like, yes, this mulberry has a very capacious canopy. And
I
then
love it.
I think everybody was like, what does that mean?
It's a great word.
It's great, yeah. So like a capacious canopy would be one that it's big and it's huge and it covers a lot of space.
Cool.
Yeah. So it is, they have this insane, big, thick, furrowed bark that's kind of chopped up vertically and then also broken up horizontally in these big, deep furrows. So if you are seeing a mature black walnut, it gets its name from not only the husk of the walnut turns black, you also have very dark wood on the very center heartwood of the tree if you cut it down.
Okay.
But also the bark on the outside is really dark and thick and furrowed. Like you would walk through and you're like, that is the toughest tree I've ever seen.
Ooh, I like that.
It's hardcore.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so the leaves come up, it's this huge, big, long canopy, reaches out, extremely solid wood, really tough. It's fairly decay resistant. And it has compound leaves. Have we talked about leaves yet?
You know what? We haven't talked that much about leaves. I feel like there's so much to say
It's too much to say almost.
You're like the pre-Big Bang when it comes to explaining about leaves. Like, I don't even want to ask you
Because you know it's
I don't
going to
want
be...
to sit here for 3 hours learning about leaves.
You're going to have to wait millenniums of the universe expanding before we can get back to whatever it is we're actually talking about.
Yeah, and I edit these episodes, so but I am curious, and I think we should eventually have maybe a dedicated, maybe we'll do a Patreon episode where we talk strictly about leaves.
I think that sounds like a great
and
idea.
we'll just roll the recording. I'll leave, go to the store, get some errands done.
I'll just look up as if I am talking to you, like kind of like you go to a therapist's office, like in the movies, and you lay on a couch and you look up, except you can just like put a recording on, and every like 10 to 15 seconds, you just have the same recording.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'll be like, yeah, you get it. Anyway.
Interesting.
Well, they're more interesting than that, I think. You'll actually be fascinated.
Yes, of course.
But you're right. We will keep it to the short. I'm just going to talk about this one specific kind of leaf.
Great. What'd you call it?
It's a compound leaf.
Okay.
But specifically a pinnately compound leaf.
Pinnately compound leaf.
Yes, Pinnate.
Okay.
Pinnate. L-Y, I guess, pinnately. So pinnately just means it's feather-like. So it has a central mid-stem, mid-rib, and then a mid-vein. And then from each of that comes off veins that come off on the left and the right in pairs until there's one on the very tip.
Okay.
And each one of those little individual bits of leaf blade is, in fact, a little leaflet. And the whole leaf itself starts from where it connects to the twig all the way out to the very tip and then everything in between. So I'll show you a picture.
Okay, yeah, please. Casey is handing me a book. Black walnut. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that is the picture is one individual leaf with about, I think it's like 9 to 12 leaflets, or 9 to 13.
There's like 10. There's like 9 on a side and then 1 on the tip.
Yes, exactly.
Not on all of them. It looks like maybe this one doesn't have 1 on the tip.
There's variation. But the point that I'm making is that is a compound leaf because you have individual leaflets that are not connected to each other.
I see.
But that's one whole leaf with little leaflets on it.
One of these things is one leaf.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Everyone at home, go look up pinnately compound leaf.
Yes, you know what we'll do? We'll post when we post this episode, we'll post on our Instagram
Brilliant.
at Arbortrary Pod. You can scroll through and see some pinnate compound leaves.
Exactly. And so you can remember it because it's feather-like. The other main kind of compound leaf is a palmately compound leaf, and they call it that, I assume. I actually technically have never looked this up. It's just how I remember it. I should get my facts straight before I tell you, but I'm going to do it anyway.
It's like a mnemonic device.
Yeah, so you look at the palm of your hand, and you have an individual bit at the very bottom, and then that bottom ends up splaying out each one of your fingers. So it starts from a central location right at your wrist, and then you have your thumb, then your other fingers, and your other finger, and your other finger. So that would be a palmately compound leaf, where the same thing happens, but instead of having leaflets that are left and right on a central main rib, you have leaflets that start from a single point, then radiate outwards in every direction.
Is this where the word palm like palm tree, palm frond?
Ooh, I'm not sure about that because there are pinnately and palmately compound or lobed leaves of palm trees.
I see.
So maybe not. All right, they're not leaves; they're fronds.
Fronds. I love the word frond.
Yeah, there you go. But the last thing I should add in, the way that you can identify a walnut for sure is by finding a walnut. They'll have these big, like, golf ball size green globes hanging all in like pairs all over the tree, and then pairs is in PAIR. Usually there's 2 or so, and you pull that off, and then you'll have that really distinctive citrusy kind of smell. If you let it sit for a little bit, you can rip off the husk on the very outside. Then you'll get that actual nut, which is the famous nut that everyone knows as a walnut. And then you can break that in half, and then you have the meat inside, which is what everyone eats inside cakes and all that kind of stuff.
Casey, this brings up one of my questions.
All right.
I actually wrote down 2 questions to ask you.
What?
Yeah.
I'm so excited. You didn't even share these with me.
No, this is a surprise. So here's my question.
Yeah.
Well, I have it's kind of a 2-parter. first part is a walnut on a walnut tree? Is it a seed?
Yes, it's the fruit. The meat is the seed. The thing that we eat
is the seed.
Is the seed.
But the stuff around it is the fruit.
Yes.
Okay, so if trees want to reproduce by dropping seeds or having seeds carried off somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Why does it make it so hard to get to it? Like why? Because I'm looking at this. I Googled it beforehand. I told you I came prepared.
Seriously, yeah, you're doing your research.
And
one day I'm going to be asking you questions.
oh, come on now. And it has like a green husk, like almost like a coconut.
Yeah.
And then it has also like a coconut. It has a brown husk.
Yeah.
And then you break that open, you finally get to the meaty goodness. Why is it so hard to get to if trees want to just spread it around a bunch?
Well, so that is a perspective thing. So you are looking at the fruit of a tree from the perspective of something that would eat it, with the assumption that the tree made it for you to eat it. But it didn't make it for you to eat it. It made it for its seedling to eat it. So it puts all those husks and everything end up developing on the outside, the really hard shell, so that you cannot get into it. The tree does not want you to break into its cache of food stores inside that nut.
Oh.
So that nut will then hit the ground, or let's say it gets buried by a squirrel or something else, or it just sits there and nothing touches it, falls underneath another stump or something that falls over. Then it sits there, and then spring comes, or rather winter comes, spring comes, and then inside, this is kind of an astounding thing. You could sit there and try to break that nut with your hands for days, and you wouldn't be able to do it. It's so hard. You have to use a tool of some kind to crack through the woodiness. The seed inside will develop enough pressure where all of a sudden it will just be sitting there, and it'll pop that shell open, and it'll send out a little root called a cotyledon.
Cute.
Hits into the ground, and then it pops up with a new little leaf. The very first leaves that come out, those are technically the cotyledons, I think. And those first little leaves are not growing because they're not growing from photosynthesis, which is how trees make their food, right? Not their food. Yeah, they do. They make their food that way with photosynthesis. So if you don't have any leaves, you're not making food. So they have to depend on the stores of food, which is the meaty husk that we eat. And that's why we eat it, because it's full of nutritious oils and protein and things like that. So the plant will put all that effort and energy into storing basically a lunch for its new little brood. That brood starts to grow, eats its lunch to produce the first leaf, and then once it has its leaves, it can then start producing actual food for itself.
Got it.
Autotrophic after that.
Got it. It's like a placenta.
It's exactly like that, except the placenta gets cut off before the birth.
Right.
Yeah.
And this thing grows with its placenta.
Yes,
it
exactly.
Feeds off of its placenta to become a tree.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Interesting case.
There you go.
Thanks for answering my question.
You're welcome. There's one other thing, Alex, that I need to tell you about this tree, this walnut, the black walnut. It is famous in horticultural and garden areas, not for its wood, which it's also famous for, not for its beautiful canopy, which it's also famous for. It is famous for having basically the ability to kill other plants that's underneath it.
Yes.
This is called allelopathy.
Allelopathy.
Yeah.
Allelopathy.
We might be able to come up with a better way to pronounce that.
Allelopathy.
Allelopathy.
I gotta say, I'm really intrigued.
I'm happy that you are. I have to say, as I was doing my research for this to make sure that at least 70% of the facts that I provide in this podcast are relatively true, that's what I shoot for. So I'm looking through, I'm like, okay, let me make sure I'm getting all my facts straight. And the first thing I look up is this Washington State University study. And it's a study on all the other studies about the allelopathy of black walnuts. Now,
interesting. Quick
step back. Allelopathy is the phenomenon of a tree or a plant that chemically alters the growth of another plant. Not by competition, not by being better at getting water or nutrients, but by actually putting out something that causes either harm or good to the other tree.
Okay.
So an allelopathic is one that a tree or a plant would produce, and it would go into the soil, and then other plants that are trying to grow in that same soil would basically be poisoned.
For the few people who are listening to this who may benefit from this analogy, this reminds me of in video games, specifically RPGs, you might have an aura that you hit and it turns on, and it either like gives a nerf or a buff to other characters. So like,
I have not. Now I'm looking at you with a blank face, like I have no idea what that means.
This is not a super interesting or fun thing to be an expert on. But
there's someone out there who's like, yes, I get it now.
Yeah. So you have an aura that like affects like a certain radius around you.
All right.
And it either gives players like a buff, like plus 5 armor,
increases
or
their
increases their stats, right?
All right?
Or a nerf, like it makes them slower, or it decreases their armor. Or
no way.
Yeah.
This
kind of reminds me of allelopathic.
It is. It's exactly the same thing. Yeah, I think that's a perfectly, like a very perfect analogy.
Thank you.
Because it's exactly what it is. Anything that's growing next to it. And it also, there's some chemicals that do help other plants. And you create like this community. A lot of times mushrooms do that as well.
Oh, cool.
But this is very specifically chemicals from one plant to the other. Or one plant to the rhizosphere, which is just the area of soil that has roots in it. So this is the thing, though. People were looking through this. This is Linda Chalker Scott is her name. Wonderful researcher. I have seen her speak and read plenty of her papers.
Oh, cool.
She is a delight.
Did you know her personally?
I wouldn't say personally. Acquaintances, maybe. I've maybe said like, I love you.
You shook her hand.
Yeah, it was like fanboy down here, at conferences.
Shout out to Linda.
Yeah. So she went through here and basically was like, there's almost no evidence, scientifically speaking, that this tree actually does this. But it's famous for it.
Whoa.
And she goes through the history and she says like, well, first in like 1923, there's this study that found that these tomatoes underneath these walnut trees were not doing very well. So they're like, well, it must be the walnut trees, but why not? It grows good under all the other kinds of trees. So they end up finding this chemical called juglone. And juglone is a more or less a poison. You put it at high concentrations in the soil, and it will inhibit the growth of other plants in a couple of different ways. They kind of talk about the science about what that exactly, like what happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Is like, what does that look like?
Well, it mostly like would cause the tree to, and this is broadly speaking.
Okay.
Allelopathic that are negative towards other plants would cause the other plants to maybe not photosynthesize very well, or wouldn't be able to. It would cause malfunctions in how it metabolizes things, or creates amino acids, or things like that. So it more or less just is a very, very minor kind of poison, where it would slow it down enough, or cause enough inhibition that the tree or the other plant or whatever it is that the walnut or the allelopathic tree is trying to fight off or keep from growing in its space and competing with it. It would just give it enough of a kick down that then it maybe wouldn't be as good as a competitor.
Wow.
Can't get quite enough light, is a little bit more predisposed to disease or insect attack. And then because trees do things on such long scales, you just do that to the same tree for 25 years or the same shrub. At some point it's going to die as your canopy gets bigger and your shade gets denser. And all of a sudden all the trees underneath you are just like, I can't do this, whatever, I'm out.
This is the tree equivalent of like that, it's not enough that I should succeed, but others should fail.
Yes, this is exactly that. That is the perfect thing, which kind of makes this tree a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Well, actually, no, I got to take it back. It makes it, everyone thought it was,
right.
This is kind of like, I think this is more akin to like the Hunchback of Notre Dame or something like that, where everyone's like, oh, he's just such a violent ogre, and like, I don't know, everyone hates him.
Yeah.
But it's really, he's just misunderstood. So according to this research, or the research on the research, everyone has given it a bad name over 2 papers, 2 extension bulletins that were put out. Basically like, here's some facts from the university for you farmers and horticulturalists. And they were both just saying, the black walnut has an allelopathic negative effect on other plants, and specifically tomatoes is called out a lot. However, when they actually look to do science on it, scientists say, yes, if you take a really concentrated amount of Juglone and you put it in this medium and you grow it in a very controlled environment, this plant dies. It has an inhibitive effect on the plant's ability to grow well. But when you actually do it in a real live situation, when there's soil microbes and there's other roots and there's other competition and there's plenty of water, Juglone does not survive when there's a lot of microbial activity. So in a forest situation or a healthy ecosystem, whether or not it's a man-made or a natural healthy ecosystem, apparently there's no effect. And there's plenty of examples and plenty of studies that show on one side, the walnut or the black walnut causes this trouble. On the other side, it says, no, it doesn't cause any trouble. And no one has actually been able to find one of those bulletins. This is science. So for I think now 50 years, people have been citing a very specific bulletin from, I think, Ohio State University. I'm sorry, the Ohio State University. And when Linda Chalker Scott was looking through, she ended up researching, maybe it was Cornell, I think, actually. She went to Cornell librarians at the Cornell University Library, could not find this article. They're like, I don't think this was ever published. I think that this has been miscited for 50 years. This tree has been vilified off of a fuck up.
Wow.
I know. I'm amazed by it.
That is incredible. So when did Linda make this realization that there is no study that proves that this thing is evil?
I think that this came out, this WSU extension thing in 2018.
This is hot off the press. We might be breaking this for some people.
I'm sorry, published in March 2019.
That's incredible.
Yes, go find this. It's Washington State University. Apparently, it's not real. Whatever you think about the negative effects of black walnuts, she's like, honestly, maybe the walnut's just a good competitor and you're planting shade-intolerant things like tomatoes under a capacious canopy of a black walnut.
Interesting.
There you go.
Wow. My first question in reaction to this is, and you might laugh at me for this question, but I think it's...
Never.
Oh, you're sweet. Is there anything political happening in the science world that would make this...
I said I wasn't going to laugh, and I laughed.
Why else would you cite something over and over and over without just checking on it?
I know, and you also wonder, are these scientists? And at the very end of this article, she says, or someone says, these should not be cited anymore, certainly not in peer-reviewed journals.
Yeah.
And it's apparently been cited so many times. Ironically, it's also cited in this because she actually says this is where the information came from, cites it, but you can't find it.
What a great narrative arc for the black walnut.
Right? I don't know. Yeah, vindication at the end
Absolutely.
of it. Vilification, is that it?
Vilification and then vindication.
Yes. I don't know if vilification's a word.
It can be.
It is now.
If it's not, it is now.
Jupiter's nut.
What?
Oh, that was the very beginning. Oh, we never covered that, did we? At the very beginning, I was trying to look up what Juglans mean.
Oh, I forgot all about that. So that made no sense to me and made my day.
Oh, good. But the other thing that really sets this tree apart for me is I lived in Missouri for a while, in Columbia, Missouri. And there was I can't even remember the brewery. I need to look it up. And if I can, I will find it.
Cool.
They had I think it was an IPA that was, instead of using hops to turn it into, or to add that sort of citrusy bitterness to it, they used either, I think, husks, or in whatever regard they could, they used black walnut in order to spice and flavor beer. It was incredible. I went out of my way to drink it. They only had it in 4-pack, so I had to buy 8.
That sounds great.
It was so good.
Was it just a super nutty kind of citrusy beer?
No, it was very citrusy. Like it tasted like an IPA.
Okay.
But so hops are actually in the cannabis family. They're all really closely related.
Yeah.
And so that's why if you ever smell like cannabis, it has that really citrusy scent to it. Same thing with hops. And so they were like, well, I mean, the black walnut husks have that same flavor profile, but it also has that like very, very specific walnutness to it. But it's not nutty because it's not the nut that they're using. It's the outer husk.
Oh, okay, I see now.
Yeah. So it only gives that citrusy walnut flavor to the beer.
Wow.
It's all almost exactly the same sort of flavor profile, I would say, as hops.
That sounds really good.
It's so good. I'm going to find it and see if I can get some.
Yeah, let's give him a shout out too.
Yeah, well,
that sounds like a unique, cool thing.
Yeah, I loved it. So
wow.
I have to say, the review part right now, like if we just go into that.
Let's get into it.
All right, so here's the thing. I already love the black walnut.
Yeah.
It is the most beautiful, beautiful tree. And as a part of this release of this podcast, I am going to go find all of the photos that I've either taken or go find the trees and take new photos of the winter silhouette of the black walnut. It is stunning. Like, I just think they're the most beautiful trees year round, just head over shoulders.
Does it lose its hold on. Does it lose its pellet?
Close.
Pinnate compound leaves in the winter?
It does.
So
every
it is
winter.
a deciduous tree.
Correct. You did it.
I'm exhausted.
You're sweating.
That's more brain power than I've used all week.
It does, yeah. It's a
Okay.
deciduous broadleaf. And the other thing, so I'll tell you what my rating is because I think this tree is so great. I think it's an 8.9.
Wow!
Yeah, it's high up there.
A mere 0.1 golden cone of honor away from being a truly honored tree.
Almost there. I think there are some other trees. As we go through this, I got to keep in mind.
You're keeping it relative.
I want to keep it relative. I want to make sure. An
8.9 for the black walnut from Casey Clapp.
That's what it is. Not to mention, it doesn't kill its friends.
Yeah, that is a good thing about it.
Yeah.
It's good not to kill your friends.
At least not directly. It just shades them out, maybe. Whoops.
It's just competitive. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
It's
Come on.
nature, baby. You gotta be competitive.
Exactly.
It's
All right.
do or die out there. Shit. Okay, so I want to start off my review with a story that I very nearly forgot to tell.
I'm so excited.
My mother grew up on a farm. She has a brother, my Uncle Mike.
Okay.
He lives in the house on the farm where my mother grew up. They have a humongous, I believe it's a black walnut tree.
It probably is if it's humongous.
Yeah, it's so big. One year, we got sent, or I think my uncle and his family came to visit, and they brought a garbage bag of black walnuts.
Yeah.
Huskless.
So yeah, you didn't have to do all the hard work.
That's right. We just had to crack them.
Yeah.
I was very excited. I love nuts.
For sure.
So I sat down, and I think I was the only one who was interested in so I kind of made it a little project. I got my nut cracker, and I cracked open the first one, rotten nut, black as could be.
God.
So I thought, well, it happens. One rotten nut, toss it to the side, grab the next one, crack it open, black again. Well, it happens. There's 500 of these fucking things in this bag. I shelled probably 3 dozen walnuts.
No way.
They're all fucking rotten.
What?
Here's the thing. I don't think my uncle did this maliciously.
All right. I was going to say, we need to go back to that tree.
My first thought was, is he trying to get rid of all these fucking rotten nuts?
Just giving you the raw nuts. Here you go, kid. Crack these open. Your heart's delight.
But it was minorly heartbreaking. I was so excited for fresh walnuts.
You get 36.
You don't get fresh walnuts that often.
No, you really don't.
Same with pecans.
Once
a
year.
Yeah. So I was very excited, and they were all duds.
I can't believe that.
I'm not letting that play into my review
All right.
of the black walnut or of my uncle.
That's our 7th show. Reviews of uncles. Send us all your uncles.
Here is my review of the black walnut.
All right.
I think this tree fucking rocks. Casey, what was the I want to say epilepsy. It's not that.
No.
Apotheology?
Oh, yeah. Allelopathy.
Allelopathy. What does this word mean? You said to me earlier.
I did. I have two definitions, but my favorite one is this. Allelopathy literally means death to others.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Oh!
This is one metal tree. And Black Walnut, I salute you. You give us delicious nuts. You're tall and beautiful.
Capacious.
You're extremely capacious. Your leaves are compound. I give you 9 golden cones of honor.
You did it! Oh my God!
It's a great tree.
It's made it.
I love it.
I almost feel like stunned, like when the final like ice skating judge holds it up and you're just like, oh, she did it. Oh my God. It's done.
I have a question.
I'm so excited.
Does this podcast suck?
No, I think this is perfect.
All right.
You know what? Hold on. We did this and we haven't eaten them yet.
Yeah.
We made candied walnuts just for this episode.
That's right.
So that we could actually taste them to make sure that we knew exactly how they taste.
Case, you want to go grab
I'm
those?
Gonna grab them. Hold on a second.
All right.
I should have waited for you.
I think that's fine.
I'm going to wait for you until you go
Yeah, just hold them in your mouth.
so we can experience it together because we're friends.
All right. Here we go. Let's see what I think. This is amazing.
Fuck, they're so good.
It's like protein candy corn. Not candy corn. I mean,
Kettle corn?
yeah, kettle corn.
Yeah, it really is. God, these are so good. I wish all of our listeners had some of these right now. You know what? They're easy as hell to make.
Everyone, go Google candied walnuts. Get yourself salted butter. If they say unsalted butter, don't listen.
No.
Salted butter, sugar, walnuts. 10 minutes of your day.
Yeah.
And then you're never gonna, you can thank us later.
It's so easy. I'll give you the recipe right now. It was like a cup. It was like 2 cups. We did a double batch because there's 2 of us.
Yeah.
It was like 2 cups of walnuts, a cup of sugar,
Half cup.
half cup of sugar, and a half cup of butter.
No, we used a quarter cup of butter.
A quarter cup of butter?
Yeah, which is like twice as much as we were supposed to
Well,
use.
I got all those things wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Dump-
got them, half right.
Oh.
Actually, twice as right, I think, technically.
Yeah, I was giving for a 4 batch.
Yeah.
Put them all in a pan, non-stick pan. Stir 'em, let them just hang out and stir them around until they're kind of a nice dark brown. Pour them out in a sheet pan, spread them out. Oh my gosh.
It's incredible. Full protein.
This just makes me love the black walnut tree.
That's why I got
even
9.
more.
That's why we're saluting it with 9.
Yeah. We should eat something every podcast. This is awesome.
All right. Sounds good. We'll have to think of, what are we going to do when we do like the monkey puzzle tree?
We'll eat monkey brains like in Indiana Jones.
Sounds perfect. Nothing to do with the tree itself. It's delicious.
God, so good. However, I will say, like all candied or toffied treats,
Yeah.
it's a real molar killer. All right. Well, that was our review of the black walnut. A fantastic tree, a fantastic nut, a fantastic sweet treat.
This is a perfect episode.
I feel I'm proud of the black walnut.
I think I am too. Like I feel like you're right. Like we maybe like broke some news that not too many people were really thinking of.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
So really, more research needs to be done to find out all the friends the black walnut has, rather than who it kills.
Yeah, let's start
Allegedly.
let's start a campaign. Let's start a hashtag, Friends of the Walnut.
Friends of the walnut. Sounds good to me.
Now that we're a little, I feel like we're a little loosey goosey on the structure right now.
We're getting a little drunk on sugar.
These are brandied walnuts. Ooh. I do want to say, like, I want to share a little something that
All right.
I shared with Casey earlier this week. I walk my dog twice a day. We go for nice walks. I have found myself stopping to admire, take pictures of, ask questions about trees that I see.
You have.
Yeah.
You sent me several.
Yeah, I'll text Casey a picture of something and say, "What is this? What's is this an arborvitae?" And he was like, "Yeah, it is an arborvitae." or what's up with this cone, and he'll give me a little explanation of what's happening to the cone.
That's so nice of you to say.
You know what it is? It's like you are the tree that's giving off the poison, and I'm the tomato plant that's withering under your influence.
I don't think that meets the metaphor.
Yeah, it doesn't quite match up.
Well, let's just stick with it.
It's a messy analogy.
You call me the walnut. I'm just going to call you the tomato.
Yeah, we're like the walrus and the
The walrus and the carpenter.
Yeah, the walnut and the tomato.
I love that.
I wouldn't mind being Mr. Tomato.
I'll be Mr. Walnut.
We move on to our completely arbitrary Q&A. Who is our question from, and what's their question? I guess I could reverse that. What's our question, and who is it from?
Aaron, I think it's pronounced Rosinke.
Rosinke.
Yeah, Rosenke. So Aaron asks, if you and your buddy were bitten by a radioactive tree, what tree-based superpower would each of you like to have?
Awesome.
Which is great, because he doesn't say which one would you have, it's which one would you like to have.
Okay.
So you don't even have to be realistic about it. We can just go for it. Which is, I mean, I should note the irony of us trying to be realistic, getting bitten by a radioactive tree to begin with. So
let's take this seriously, please.
Great question, Aaron.
Yeah, great question.
What do you think, Alex?
Oh, boy. Here's what I would choose.
All right.
A little like the juggalo poison. What is it called?
Juggalone.
Juggalone.
Yeah.
I wasn't that far
No,
off.
you were very close. In fact, I've had that thought several times, and I was like, how can I use juggalo in this podcast?
How could you not?
Yeah,
It's set up perfect for us.
It totally is.
I would do that. I would have I would be I'm never going to remember this word, Casey.
Allelopathic.
I would be allelopathic. But instead of poisoning those around me, I would give them a boon of some kind.
Oh my God, that is so sweet.
Like everybody's hair would grow a little thicker and stronger.
Yeah, everyone, like, your voice is a little bit more sure every time you're standing a little more near you.
Yeah,
I think that's a really nice. That's a really nice idea.
Thanks. Yeah, that's what I would choose. What would your tree superpower be, Case?
Ooh, okay. So I think it would be regeneration / compartmentalization.
That's a really good one.
Is that a lot? Is that too much?
No.
Okay, so I imagine I'm just traipsing through the forest, and this kind of forest. Let's just say I get bit by a pine tree. It's a really old pine tree, and that pine tree just nicks me, and I'm like, oh, this is infected now. And then all of a sudden, my skin just grows over it. And then later that day, I fall on a train track, and then a train can't stop. And I'm like, no, stop. You can see me. My arm is right here. And it just severs my arm off.
Yeah.
And instead of me going absolutely armless for the rest of my life, I just compartmentalize over that wound and then cut it off at the shoulder and grow a new arm.
Very cool.
And then at some point, my old arm falls off because, it just decays.
That's a great answer.
I could also hire a surgeon to cut it off while my new one grows.
A tree surgeon.
Exactly. There are
tree, right?
Yeah, it's over in England. It's what they usually would call arborists. So yeah, I think that I think those are really good superpowers.
Yeah, that's good. I like yours a little more than mine.
I think yours is so much nicer though. Yours shows your character of just wanting people around you to be happy and better and nicer. Mine's like, well, I want to get mine and not lose it, and if I do, I want to get it back.
Well, you're not that's not part of your character.
I guess not.
I want to paint a picture of you that's not accurate.
That's
Casey's
true.
one of the most generous, kind people I know.
You're too sweet.
Take that.
I just like regrowing my limbs.
That's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
All right, Case. That
There you
brings
go.
us to the end of this lovely episode. I've had a grand time with you, really.
This has been a sweet episode.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time with a new tree and new things to talk about.
So exciting.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Completely Arbortrary is produced by Alex Crowson and Casey Clapp. Our production consultant is Olivia Frankie. Our artwork is by Jillian Barthold, and our music is by the Mini Vandals. Thanks for listening.